developed the ADEX exam, which is administered by the CDCA or the Commission on Dental Competency Assessments in order to provide dental students with the opportunity to be licensed. In this video, we will cover a Class 3 composite resin preparation on tooth number 9, surfaces mesiolingual. To fully prepare for the exam, review the candidate manual administered by the CDCA and ADEX. The tooth we are using today is the number 9 Accidental DTX tooth, which is similar to the Confidant tooth, but not exactly the same tooth used on the CDCA exam. This tooth does still have simulated enamel, dentin, caries, and pulp. Begin by assembling the proper armamentarium for the procedure as shown in this illustration. Envision the cavity preparation outline and extent. Use the candidate manual to guide your ideal tooth preparation measurements, and note that modifications should be requested to alter the preparation measurements that are determined by the extent of your carious lesion. During the exam day, you will receive a radiograph to indicate where your carious lesion will be located. You can also envision the outline of the caries on the tooth because of the shading. Optionally, you can use the red and blue pencil to draw the outline of the cavity preparation on the tooth. For the CDCA exam, there are ideal preparation dimensions. If you want to extend your ideal preparation, you must submit a modification request to the examiners. Once your modification request, or a mod, has been approved, you can extend your preparation beyond the ideal dimensions. Obtain proper isolation of the tooth using a rubber dam. In this procedure, we will be using indirect vision to visualize the cavity preparation. To best use indirect vision, it is suggested that the operator sits at the 12 o'clock position in relation to the patient. Now place a wedge in between the tooth you will be working on and the adjacent tooth to separate the contact areas. As an option, you can also place a matrix band interproximally or a metallic fender wedge to protect the adjacent tooth. After separating the contact areas, orient the burr perpendicular to the lingual surface of the tooth over the carious lesion. Place the burr close to, but without touching, the adjacent tooth. Here, we are using a 330 diamond burr. Our team chose to use the 330 diamond burr because it works well with the simulated enamel. The carbide burr is switched in when we are drilling in dentin. Penetrate the tooth to an initial facial lingual depth of 1 to 1.5 millimeters. Note that this tooth does have caries, so you may feel a drop while drilling. Use the probe to check your dimensions. Here you see that the initial depth is 1.25 millimeters. Now extend the preparation on the lingual surface in the incisal gingival direction and mesial distal direction. Note that the facial wall should be at least 90 degrees relative to the axial wall. You may choose to leave a small enamel shell that will aid in protecting the adjacent tooth. Use the probe to check dimensions as you extend the preparation. If you had left an enamel shell, you may now break the enamel shell, but avoid using hand instruments as they may cause the tooth to fracture. Here, you will see the 330 burr being used to break the enamel shell, create proper exit angles of 90 degrees, and remove all unsupported enamel. Remember that we ideally want the gingival contact to be broken, but intact incisal contacts. If the facial wall is broken, it's ideal to be extended less than 1 millimeter beyond the contact area. Here we are using the 330 carbide burr because we are now in the dentin. The diamond 330 could be a little too powerful in the dentin. Remove the wedge to assess. Once the wedge has been removed, check your contacts, ensuring that the gingival contact is open, incisal contact is closed, and the facial is less than 1 millimeter broken. Without the wedge, check for any remaining caries. During this caries exploration phase, note that the caries may be a tactile feeling and not necessarily a stain. If you feel tugback or any stickiness on the explorer, caries probably remains and should be excavated. Each tooth may have a different carious lesion, so make sure you check adequately for remaining caries, especially along the axial wall. In order to remove the caries, you will use the largest round burr that fits in the preparation, maybe a size 2 or 4. As you extend the preparation, ensure that you are still within the preparation dimensions as identified in the candidate manual. Continue to check for caries tactily and remove the caries as needed. You will see here that caries are being removed and they come out as a white powder. You may opt to replace the wedge to prevent iatrogenic damage to the adjacent tooth during the caries excavation process. As you continue extending, make sure that all unsupported enamel is also removed. Note that on this tooth, you will see the DEJ, where the enamel transitions into dentin. As you continue to excavate the caries, keep in mind the ideal dimensions of the preparation. If you're excavating beyond these dimensions, be sure to request a modification to extend your preparation. For example, if you want to extend the axial wall towards the pulp, you can request that in your modification. Please refer to the candidate manual to see what you should submit with a modification request, such as what you are requesting, where you're requesting it, how much you're requesting, and why you are requesting the modification. On this tooth that we're demonstrating, all of the caries were within the ideal dimensions of the tooth preparation, but this is not always the case. At this check-in point, we are about 1.5 millimeters mesial-distally from the DEJ. In the incisal gingival direction, the preparation is less than 3 millimeters. In the mesial-distal direction, the preparation is about 2.5 millimeters. Using the Explorer, no remaining caries are found. Next, ensure that the internal line angles of the preparation are rounded. Use your rotary instruments and 330 burr to do so. Now smooth the preparation with rotary instruments, as using hand cutting instruments may cause chipping or fracture to the tooth. Continue to smooth and remove ledges from the preparation. You can use the 330 carbide burr here. For tiny areas that have unsupported enamel, you can use the flame diamond burr. Make sure you have protection so you do not cause iatrogenic damage to adjacent and sound tooth structures. If you do scratch or cause iatrogenic damage, you may polish it with a slow speed polishing point. Before your exam date, refer to the candidate manual to identify the successful criteria and the failure criteria for each preparation. Become familiar with the candidate manual on how to treat pulpal exposure or blushing. Refer to the My Dental Key endodontic section to see the pulp location and note that the pulp is usually in the center of this tooth. Once the preparation is smooth, all caries are removed and you are finished with the preparation, clean and dry using the air-water syringe. Examine and self-evaluate your preparation. Use the Explorer to check for smoothness and any remaining caries, and use the probe to check for proper dimensions. Refer to the candidate manual or our checklist to guide your self-evaluation. The outline form should be less than 3 millimeters in the incisal gingival direction and extend in the mesial distal direction about 0.5 millimeters to less than 1 millimeters beyond what's necessary to remove all of the carious lesion. Note that the final preparation dimensions in the facial lingual direction will be determined by the carious lesion. The preparation should have gingival clearance less than or equal to 1 millimeter. The preparation should also ideally be smooth and the cavo surface margin should be regular. Thank you for learning with us, and good luck on your exam.